Welcome to Partner Spotlight, Ms. Tillekeratne. Now, why don't you first give us an outline of the budgetary allocations for consumption relief?
All right. Well, the consumption relief given by this budget is mainly twofold. The first being a reduction in prices of essential goods, and the second being an increase in spending capacity. Now, the reduction in price of goods was affected by the downward revision of import taxes on these items, which cost the government approximately 16 billion as per the table 1 of the budget proposals. The increase in spending capacity was achieved by proposals such as increase in government sector salary and pensions, increase in special allowances such as samurdhi and loan concessions granted to the agriculture sector, guaranteed interest granted to senior citizens, an increase in your tax-free threshold of employees in employment. So these are basically the consumption reliefs given by the government.
Right. What about the new tax initiatives? Could you just give us a brief outline?
There were several new taxes that were introduced by this budget, some of which are recurring, like the migrating tax and the tax on mansions, and some of which are one-off, like the super gains tax and the special levy on casinos, liquor industry, those in the satellite industry, sports channels, and the mobile telephone industry.
Tell us a little bit about the allocation for education and health in comparison to how it's been so far.
Well, if you read the budget proposals, there's an inference that this government proposes to increase the spending on the education sector to approximately 6% of GDP gradually. At present, it is currently less than 2% of GDP, while the Asian average is around 2.9% and the average of advanced economies is around 5.3%. So they expect to increase it to 6% of GDP, but gradually. In the health sector, they expect again an increase in gradual terms up to 3% of GDP. They have actually allocated an extra 1 billion this time under these proposals in comparison to the 2015 budget proposals.
In terms of these new taxes, Ms. Tillekeratne, how much does the government hope to receive from these new taxes which have been brought in?
Right. Well, the new taxes, such as I mentioned earlier, the migrating tax and the super gain tax. So from the new recurring taxes, they expect to earn a revenue of around 1.1 billion. From the new one-off taxes, they expect to earn a revenue of around 60 billion. And it is important to note that the expected revenue of the government is to be covered by mostly the super gain tax. So 60% of their revenue is expected through the super gain tax. Those are the details as per table 1 of the budget proposals. And the increase in current taxes, the already existing taxes, such as the taxes on motor vehicles, they expect to gain another 13 billion.
Could you just elaborate on this super gains tax exactly? Who does it affect and how?
The super gains tax is imposed on individuals and companies who basically have super gains of about 2 billion profits in the year of assessment 13-14. So in that sense, it is a tax payable now based on your profits for the year of assessment 13-14. And as indicated in the budget proposals, that this would be limited to a few companies. The exact parameters of how this is going to be levied has yet not been decided and not been discussed, and there are many discussions going on about it, so as to whether it's on profits before tax, profits after tax, your taxable income, or whether it should be on profits after tax and after declaring of dividends. The government, I think, needs to have a discussion with the relevant stakeholders to whom this tax would apply before formulating the criteria, because it would also affect the outlook of future investors in Sri Lanka.
Overall, a good budget, a long or short-term budget? What are your thoughts?
Well, actually this is an interim budget, and as such it's not meant to address long-term plans. However, having said that, there are some long-term proposals which are actually quite commendable. Special mention should be made of the rationalization of the tax system. They propose to reduce the number of taxes that are currently in the system, which I think would go towards increasing investments in Sri Lanka and increasing our placing in the World Bank's ease of doing business index. So that is a long-term proposal. Then of course there are some other income tax proposals which have been implemented for the long term, as concessions to the agriculture sector, concessions to investments to be made in lagging areas. I would have liked to have seen a statement that would have increased investor confidence in Sri Lanka. Investors look to certainty in planning their taxes.
So what more could have been done to improve investor confidence?
The guarantee that the already afforded projects with holidays and all that wouldn't be changed drastically. I mean, and I'm speaking in terms of the tax side and not on any other aspect, so that the certainty of taxes that they planned for at that time when these projects commenced would still remain.